It's okay. Hey, gosh, how is it almost 2025 already? Like, that is insane to me. Like, I since Christmas, it's just blown by, like, especially well, we have to thank Missouri weather. It's been like it doesn't feel like winter. It's like, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, not in Missouri, you're not, because it's still like some days it's like 50 to 60 degrees. Yeah, it was, like, pouring. What was it, the day before Christmas Eve or something? One of those days, it was, like, pouring rain, and, I mean, it's been insane. Mhm. Uh, well, we will see, I suppose. Oh, that's great. All right, so basically with me, just a quick check-in. I'm taking my sweet old time with this book because I want to finish it tomorrow. That way, January 1st, I can start new, but I keep my reading streak because I've had my reading streak. I've read every day since October, and I don't want to lose that, so I'm working hard to keep that. I did hit this part where it's like you just got to keep reading because stuff happened. And so I read as much as I could, and I stopped. So I think I'm like 2 or 3 chapters ahead of my goal of 4 chapters a day. So, yeah, which is good. Basically, because 'cause we've got a busy day tomorrow anyway, so the closest I can get to done, I can just finish the last, like, 3 pages, film my review, and then get on with our busy day. So or do it after our busy day's over, but so that's basically my check-in. I'm actually finding I told you this, but with I'm a romance person these days, I don't know why, but for me, I'm actually more invested in the girl and her personal plot line because it's so yeah, I'm, like, the most intrigued I've ever been in a plot. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna have a hot take. Mhm. Okay. So, I can see that. My hot take is that it's not a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I actually did not find a lot of parallels. It's more Beauty and the Beast inspired. It's not a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And so I thought it was gonna be more of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and that disappointed me. But I took it for what it was. When I got out of Beauty and the Beast mode, like, the roses is similar. They have an incident at the end. It's like, everybody knows Beauty and the Beast, like the Disney version where they storm the castle to kill the beast. Like, that's kinda similar. To me, it's like that's the only similar like, and she makes a bargain, but it's not a same bargain, and it's not, like, in exchange for somebody else's life. So it's not a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I would say it's Beauty and the Beast inspired. But I love it for what it is, though. It technically is. The actual genre of fairy tale retelling. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, Cinder, I forgot about that whole series. Mhm. 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 It's definitely, like, something to argue about. Yeah, a debate. I'd be interested to see the author, like, interviews about her inspiration behind it, and, like, what she intended it to be and stuff. Um, and I am just so like, it's a novella. Like, I've heard so many people be like, "You can't write fantasy in short stories." So I heard that over and over again, so I deterred myself away from that as much as I can because it's like, "Oh, it's too short to do all the world building you're gonna need." Like, this is a completely different area than Serpent in the Wings of Night, so the she had to build this whole, like, town and everything, and the building that she did, like, made me fall in love with this story and the main girl and her whole circumstance and the situation that's going on. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's like it's just so intriguing. I know. I feel like it's just going to be a nice little wrap up, but I feel like that's also could be naive of me. So I'm like, everything seems like it's gonna be fine now, and for reference, just so you know, I'm on page 110. Chapter 19, page 110, so I feel like everything's gonna be fine. Yeah, spoiler alert. Okay. Um, she she just basically got through Healing Veil after the whole everybody went to kill him and stuff, and so it's, like, recovery time, basically, and, like, she hasn't tended to her injuries and stuff. So, again, it seems like it's just gonna be a nice little wrap up, but maybe that's naive of me. Yes. Oh gosh, your face went off screen, so I'm like, "Oh, no." Okay, you do. So what about you? We know you finished Kingdom of Ash and, like, a million other books since then, and I'm like, "Meanwhile, I'm just reading this tiny little novella." Right. Nice. Okay. Mhm. Yep. Even with Throne of Glass, I can tell that because the romance is not the focus. Right. So that's the genre. Yeah. If it's not your thing, it can be very confusing. The Martian? Well, the Star Wars and The Martian. Well, Star Wars. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Oh my god. I suddenly don't feel so bad now about some of my books because I like doing that myself. Yeah. Nice. Mhm. 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 I just made a note at the bottom of my review, like 4.75 stars out of 5, is what I did. I love Fable though, because you can do like point stars too. It's really handy. Mhm. Even in Throne of Glass, yeah, there was the prissy chick, the main girl, and then Dorian, and sometimes Kale. So there was like four at least that you would jump between. Mhm. Yeah, for people's preference if that's what you love. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Interesting. This does say so not appealing. Gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. That's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. That's cool. Well, one other thing I did forget to mention though is I'm decided to do PewDiePie's reading challenge for next year, which is a lot of philosophy books. And so Saturday is my busy night. So while I was working, I got the audiobook for the first one because he gave permission if you want to start early, you can. And the first one is Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. It's like an ancient Chinese thing about Taoism or Taoism, however you pronounce it. And it was an hour and 40 minutes long, and I listened to it on Spotify while I was working, and it was really great background noise. But my full review will be coming out at the end of January, so I can keep up the same time with like the official challenge. So I probably won't say much about it till the review comes out, but you can find my basic summary on Goodreads and stuff. On that one, in my main review at the end of January, I'll go into like the actual philosophy in the book and comparisons and talk about it in detail. So yeah, it ended up being a two-star read for me, but it's not anything against the book, it's just I'm not a philosophy person, it's just not my genre. So but I still had one book that I hated the most this year, even worse than that one, so that one was one up from the other one. Yeah, I know, I was just gonna say, we'll talk about that later. Yep, yeah. Yeah. What I did, I have a 2024 books ranked video that'll be coming out second week in February or whatever, first week, somewhere in there, first week. So the 6th. And the way I did it is I organized them according to star rating. And then within that, because I had a lot that were rated the same. And so within that, I would organize them on like my opinion. So but yeah, I had to insert that one and this one because I filmed it like a week ago at the time that I hadn't read this one or the Tao Te Ching. So I had to do an edit like an insert thing just so I could get the thing done. But anyways, so so the first agenda I can hear you. Yes. Okay. Technical difficulties, everybody. Please stand by. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Via Discord, I guess.
Possibility that they may not have heard me, but that's okay.
Oh
They
no.
just saw me heard you talking, but not me. But that's okay.
Hopefully it worked. Uh-oh.
Okay.
I would say leave a
Now they can hear
comment.
me. It's okay. Whatever.
Okay.
It's fine. I'll just be muted for
Think you were
most of
talking
the
about how
bit.
much you love the Purple Prince series and stuff. Did they
Yeah.
hear any of that, or was that out the whole time? Oh
No.
no,
That's all right. That's okay.
sorry guys.
Quick
I can
summary.
insert the audio. Well, I wasn't recording it. Dang it!
No.
I was like, I heard you on Discord, but I wasn't recording.
Yeah. It's okay.
Oh well, you were just
Um.
going on about how different it is and how much you love it. So,
Yeah.
all right.
So sad day.
Oh,
Sad day.
lucky darn. That sucks.
I Yeah, I got new headphones, and so I'm not wearing my old headphones, so I forgot to double check on the mic stuff. Yay.
It happens.
It's
That
alright.
sucks.
It's alright. Okay, so
A
essentially,
weak
I
night
was
to
just
start
talking about
finishing
how
rising.
I was ranting about how this is romantasy, this one's epic fantasy with lots of different plot lines and POVs because they all have at least each book has at least 2 to 4 POVs. And then it bothers me that people are comparing the Crescent City series and talking about how it's worse than the other two um, series, but it's like you can't. In my head, you can't compare these with each other because they're all different genres, and
Yep.
it's like you can't do that fairly. And then because Kingdom of Ash had so many different plot lines, whenever I got done with that, it was such a complex read that essentially Queen of Nothing, Cruel Prince is book one, Wicked King is book two, which is what I read. I have already read and finished, and then I'm in the middle, almost kind of about over halfway finished with Queen of Nothing.
Mhm.
I essentially said that the main male character, Carden, the POV is with the female character, but the main male character, Carden, I kind of said that he kind of reminds me, movie, not book, but movie version of Thranduil from The Hobbit, mixed with
Mhm.
Big Bang Theory's Sheldon, but more arrogant and less understanding of human emotion. Kind of like the whole concept of like not really fully understanding human emotion or whatever, but more arrogant, jokey, arrogant type thing, type of way.
Mhm.
So yeah, kind of like not really Throne of Glass Dorian, not really, but kind of, but not. I don't know. It's weird. It's interesting.
Yeah. You also mentioned that they're elves and the realm was called
Yeah,
fairy, but they call it
fairy.
elfin
Yeah,
something,
it's like
and that you liked it with elves.
yeah. So it's like the
And you
place
read
is called
faster on the
Fairy, but
Kindle.
but the actual land is called the Shifting Isles of Elfhame, Elfhame. So it's really kind of interesting. They aren't actually Fae, even though it's called Fair. The place is called Fairy Realm. It's
Yeah.
not. They're not actually fairies. They're elves, but then there's also a bunch of other creatures and like hybrid creatures and things like that. Like certain
Yeah.
beings have tails or horns or different things like that. So it's like kind of like more of like
Mhm.
a Lord of the Narnia type vibe a little bit, but it's not Narnia. It's
Mhm.
not like that. It's there's like a mortal realm and then that realm, and it's that whole concept of um like it's dangerous for mortals to be in that realm for various reasons that in case you want to read it, I'm not going to go into detail, but yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like yeah, it's interesting. There were
That's
several kind of
interesting.
plot twists in the second one. One of them I did pick up on because there's enough foreshadowing that I kind of called it. There was a second plot twist that I wasn't expecting at the end of book two that kind of is given an explanation. You're given an explanation as to what that particular character was thinking when they did this thing, and so it's
Yep.
like gives a little bit of an explanation, which I kind of called it on the explanation. I was honestly kind of thinking that that's probably what had happened, and then that's
Yeah.
actually what happened, and I kind of called that bit. But it's like I think I'm just so used to and like diving so heavy into the like plot lines with that one that it's like I'm calling these plot twists a lot easier because I've been
Mhm.
so used to
And
doing
that's
that.
also probably why you're reading it faster, is
Yeah.
because you said it was like a simple read, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's
No.
just
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
consume.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we're all caught up now. So,
Did
our
like 20 minutes
2024
worth
reading
of
goals
discussion in like 5 minutes there.
squeezed into
Love
like
it.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All
All right,
right.
so 2024, our 2024 reading goal. So
Yes.
I didn't set one. I haven't set one for years, and I on my average was probably like 2 to 3, 4 reads per year. It was just
Mm-hmm.
like a casual when I wanted it. Like last year, I'm pretty sure the only book I read was Brotherhood. No, the year before last, whatever year we went to South Dakota, like that was my only read that year, and I reread like the Star Wars prequel novellas,
Mm-hmm.
novelizations and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it was very casual, very just whenever.
Yeah.
And so I happened to read a lot in March because I got into psychological thrillers, and then we you got us into Fourth Wing like in the
Mm-hmm.
summer, and so when I started reading Iron Flame and finishing up the Silver Court of Silver Flames that I started in 2023. By the way, it was October of 2023 when I started Silver Flames. Didn't finish it until September or October of 2024, September, something like that. So it was over a year basically. So and then we started this podcast and I've been reading more often. So toward the end of the year I could tell I was like at 19, and so my goal was to add
Mm-hmm.
one more to that to make it an even number and finish up Throne of Glass. So I
Mm-hmm.
set my reading goal for 20 and I made it, and Tao Te Ching made 21, and this tomorrow when I finish it will be 22 books
Sweet.
for 2024
Sweet.
for me. So,
Awesome. Okay, so kind of going over. I'm gonna pull up Fable because Fable does better than Goodreads when looking at like when you've read
yeah,
stuff. Okay,
I took
so
screenshots on
in
mine.
um maybe I can't actually see the titles on this, but
Sometimes the app doesn't work very well. I noted like sometimes like I was trying to film it the other day and it wasn't working very well.
okay. I'm just gonna go to my finished books and do that. Okay,
Okay.
so no, go away. Well, no, it's not working either. Okay, well, I got one book read in January, and then that was Fractal Noise. Okay, and then in February
Mhm.
and March, I didn't really log anything in Fable. Let me check Goodreads. I think February and March are really heavy. Like, I was really headfirst into a lot of school stuff, so I don't suspect that I read very much in February and March. Just being completely honest,
Mhm.
I might have, but I don't see myself reading that much. In April, I read Silver Flames, Throne of Glass, and Iron Flame. I read those. It's saying that I read those three in April. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's right. Okay, so January to February, I read Throne of Glass. No. Okay, a date read. Okay, so sorry, I'm scattered. I should have had this done ahead of time. Okay, Silver Flames was in February. I didn't read anything in March. Iron Flame was in April. Throne of Glass was in April. I read a comic, an Old Republic comic in May. So I didn't really read much. Yeah, I didn't really read
Mhm.
much in March. Um, I read Silver Eyes, which is a FNAF read in May, and then June I had three. I had Aragon, Midnight Sun, and then like a picture book called Together. It's like just a real short read. Um,
Mhm.
and then I may have finished. Yeah, that was June, and then in July I read Light of the Jedi, Fourth Wing, which I read Fourth Wing in February originally, and then I read it again in July with you guys. Um,
Yeah.
and then let's see, July was also Crown of Midnight, Air of Fire, and Crown of Midnight and Air of Fire, and then I read Queen of Shadows, and I listened to 1984 in August. Serpent in the Wings of Night was also August. September was The Hobbit, and October was Immortal.
Mhm.
Shameless plug. Um, and
I
then
forgot that was
Six Scorched
October instead of
Roses.
November.
Okay, yeah, so it was like October was Immortal, and then Six Scorched Roses, and then Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and then Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn was no, Empire of Storms was November, and that's the only book I read in November, I think. And then Tower of
Mhm.
Dawn. It says that I read it in December, but I think I finished it in December.
I
So
thought you finished
it
that
was
for your
Empire of
December because December TBR was only Kingdom of Ash. I
Yeah, yeah.
remember.
So
Yeah.
Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn were both in November, and then Kingdom of Ash and Wicked King so far are in December. So my original goal was 20 because last year
Mhm.
I either ended on 19 or ended on 20. I can't quite remember. Um,
Right.
so I think my 2023 goal I ended um, on 19 or 20. I think it was 20 is what I ended up ending on. So I
Yeah.
started this year on 20.
Right.
And so I finished with 25. If I finish Queen of Nothing tomorrow, if I can get it some read tonight and then finish it tomorrow, then it'll be 26, which will be the most books I've ever read in a year. I've already passed
Hey,
my total,
bro.
like the most I've ever read in a year. So yeah, I've already surpassed
Yay.
that goal. I think 20 was originally the goal, like the most I had read, and so I've
Yeah.
passed that one because I had at the beginning of the year I had a whole like chart listed out of like if I read so many books in a month, like certain number of books in a month to try to hit my Goodreads goal, and the whole
Mhm.
chart. I started it and then I just never finished it. So I'm like,
Yeah. That's funny.
excuse me,
But you did hit it, so.
I did. Okay, best reads
Okay.
for this year.
Well, I
Oh,
had
I'm sorry.
on Fable real quick. It's okay. I forgot to summarize. So on Fable, I just wanted to say it changed my little summary. So it says Heart Thar. From lethal arenas to healing hearts, you seem to love the thrill of danger combined with the warmth of romance, but you have a soft spot for both assassins and ex-military, eh? I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So 21 out of 20 books. I have a 67-day reading streak on on Fable. So I've read for the last 67 days. So January, I started my year off reading Princess of Undersea, which is an indie author book by one of my friends. And it was pretty good. And then February, I didn't read anything. March was like the month that I read the most. So in March, I read Anathalion, which is by my editor, H.A. Pruitt. It's coming out, her new revised version of that's coming out January 14th. So I had to
Sweet.
plug that.
Yeah.
The Winter Prince by Constance Lopez, which was the best Beauty and the Beast retelling that I've ever read. It was so good. Another indie author, and shout out to the Once Upon a Prince series of fairy tale retellings, and they're so good. Um, so after that was Sanctuary of the Shadow, and then I got in my psychological thriller kick. So it was Split, and then Boy Toy and The Dark Room Etiquette. So I didn't read in April, and then in May I read Set This House in Order. I didn't read in June, and then July was Fourth Wing, and then I didn't read in August. So it was like from March, it was like every other month I read one single book, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's funny.
September, I read Fourth Wing and Silver Flames, and somewhere in there, I read my editor H.A. Pruitt and another author friend of mine, Kimmy K, their children's book, which might have been August. I don't remember. I didn't
Yeah.
log it anywhere. So, but yeah, Fourth Wing and Court of Silver Flames was September. October was Cyclone. November was The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then the Coastal Hope series. So Pages of Promise. Um, I don't remember the names of these. It was 5 books. So yeah, it was the Coastal Hope series. 5 books there, which was Christian military romantic suspense. That's the genre. And then December, I read Bloodguard, Throne of Glass, Tao Te Ching, and then this one when I finish it tomorrow, which will make 22 books. Um, and then I had my most read genre has been romance, which is I have 15 books that are in romance and 8 books that are in fantasy, 9 books that are fantasy, and 9 books that are young adult. So I don't know what the young
Yeah.
adult was. My average rating went down. It was 4.2, but my rating of Tao Te Ching made it down to 4.1.
Yeah.
And then my most read authors this year was Jessica Ashley, because of the Coastal Hope series. I read 5 of her books, and then Rebecca Yarros and Sarah J. Maas were both 2 books.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty much my summary. I was curious to see on your Goodreads how many pages you've read and how many, you know how Goodreads on your
Oh.
2024 year and a
Yeah.
books. I
Okay. Hold
wanted to
on.
see how many pages you've read since you had
Okay.
Kingdom of Ash.
Yeah.
So, and
Okay.
your longest book and shortest book.
Okay. Okay.
We got
It's
to
it's
compare
updated
stats.
it again since I finished Wicked King too, so it's even different than what I checked
Okay.
before. Okay. So
All right.
total read so far is 25. Pages read was 12,478.
Mine
Um,
was 8,314. So that's cool. You're really doing great this year, dude. Awesome.
my shortest book was the comic that I read. It was only 22 pages. And then
My
the
shortest
longest.
was Tao Te Ching at
Oh,
107. So
okay, cool. And then my
yeah.
longest was Kingdom of Ash with 984. Um,
Obviously. Mine was Court of Silver Flames at 757,
Ooh,
so which
there
is
you
still
go.
longer than
Yeah, it's
Immortal,
still
I
long.
think. So that's nice. My
Um,
average length in book was 395.
mine was 499 average length.
Nice.
Let's see, the
So
most shelved that I read, I listened to the audiobook of 1984, and that one's the most shelved, which it's
wow.
considered, it's a classic, so that would explain it. It's like over
Yeah.
8 million people have it shelved, so it makes sense. My least shelved is Immortal, with 6 have shelved it.
Nice.
Um,
Princess of Undersea was my least shelved, and it has 49 people. So
oh, cool.
Leslie Kanzati is doing really good on that.
Yeah,
My biggest one was Fourth Wing, which is like in the millions. So
yeah, there you go. My average rating is 4.6.
mine is
Um,
4, even apparently, according to
um,
Goodreads.
my highest rated on Goodreads. Oh, the highest overall book that I read, the highest rating on Goodreads. The Kingdom of Ash
Yeah,
has
like
the highest rating out of all of them.
uh,
Um,
Perilous Healing by Jessica Ashley actually has the highest on Goodreads. It's 4.68 is the average, which is
there you
interesting
go.
because she's an indie author. So,
Yeah.
but people love that one. So
Let's see.
which is the last book in that
First
series.
year and my first review of the year was for Fractal Noise, which I read in January.
That's
Um,
cool. Mine was Princess of Undersea.
and then it
And
has
then I
a
think
list of
mine just
all of
listed
them.
books.
And it says my last
Yep.
review of the year is Kingdom of Ash, but I haven't typed up Wicked King, a short review for Wicked King yet.
Mine it was Tao Te Ching is the last one. So I just wanted to compare the stats there,
Yeah,
so that was interesting.
cool. All
All
right.
right, so now best and worst reads, as you said.
Yes. Okay. So best doesn't always like the way I'm gonna look at it is like the one that I enjoyed the most and the one I enjoyed the least.
Okay.
That's how I'm gonna do it. You can do
But you
rating,
still
but it
enjoyed most
doesn't
of them.
always necessarily have to be that.
Okay.
Um. So it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. I have mine, so I guess I can
Yeah,
go
you
first
go
while you're
first, and I'll be
thinking.
thinking.
Okay, so my best read this year is a combination because I can't choose between them, but it's definitely Fourth Wing because it hooked me and got me like I feel like Fourth like even though ACOTAR started me reading again last year, I feel
Mhm.
like Fourth Wing really reiterated you are a reader and this is what it feels like to be a reader again.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget the Turpin Branson. So Fourth Wing, but I loved Bloodguard. I said repeatedly that it's the book I've been waiting my whole life to find. And then The Serpent and the Wings of Night was just so unique. Those are my top three favorite fantasy books of all time. So those are definitely my best. My worst read was Set This House in Order, which we did touch on a little bit, both in my book ranking and in our book award. So if you haven't
Yeah.
watched that, you guys should go check it out
Yeah.
when you're done with the live stream. But yeah, it was just like it dealt with DID and the main guy character was like really good and I liked him and I liked all the different personalities and it was really realistic. I've since gone over my detailed review of it and it's like it had a lot of chapters where it would literally go on and on and on for like 20 to 30 pages about
Yeah.
random nonsense that didn't have
Mhm.
anything to do with the story
Yeah.
at all. And then it had this twist toward the end, like the middle of the end, kind of like, or the end of the middle, I should say, that
Mhm.
ruined his character for me.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so I genuinely do not like that book. And I finished it
Mhm.
anyway. So I was really, because usually I would just not finish the book if I didn't like it. So it actually still like, it was still an accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
But I definitely didn't like Set This House in Order
Yeah.
by Matt Ruff, I think the author was.
Yeah.
So those are mine.
Okay. I would say probably I. This seems kind of cliche because I just finished it, but like when I'm thinking about like a book that's genuinely fantastic is when it makes me experience like every emotion that I can think of, and it's like when
Yeah.
it gets to me to the point where I am like visibly like physically reacting to a book like crying or whatever, like that's when I'm like, or if I'm seeing a huge change in characters throughout the book, or from like beginning of the series to end of the series, like when you see like a character that like is demonstrating a lot of change in a book. So like the I like, if I'm looking at it from that perspective, Kingdom of Ash would be my favorite from the year. I even added it to my
Hmm.
favorites list on Goodreads, so I guess that's kind of official then. But the other one
Yeah.
that I would put up there as being my favorite that I also added to my favorites list, um, let's see, I added Serpent and the Wings of Night to my favorites, and I also added Queen of Shadows to my favorites as well. So I would say those are all. I would say Kingdom of Ash more so than Queen of Shadow, but Queen of Shadow was pretty good. Like I really liked that. When Serpent and the Wings of Night was so different than anything I
It's
had
hard
read
to
before
categorize it.
that it was like
Yeah.
it was a very significant read. I remember a lot from that book. I remember significant parts from that book because just a lot of it because it's just so unique and so different. The
Yeah.
one that I probably was the most annoyed with after I finished, it's not my lowest rated one. Honestly, my lowest rated one from this year is still, I would argue, is still, I don't know. But it's not my lowest rated, but it's the one I was most irritated with when I finished, and that one was Empire Storms. I was very irritated by the end of that book. And
Yeah, I
my.
remember you were upset and you ranted a lot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it upset
Yeah,
you clearly.
I was.
Something
And I
upset you.
guess that's
I
still
don't
a
know what,
testament.
but
I
it was
guess it's still a
upsetting.
testament of like good writing because it made me feel emotions that just weren't positive ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I
Okay, so our
see.
favorite series.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Sorry. You go ahead,
No,
talk.
it's okay. You could say. I didn't mean to.
I forgot what I was gonna say, so you just keep talking.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was gonna spout off
Uh,
something, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind.
oh no.
I hate when that happens. Anyway.
So our favorite theories of 2024.
Um.
We've been doing this since October, so I haven't had a whole lot of theory time with books just since October is
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. That's what
well,
I
we
was
started doing
thinking.
theories really in November.
Yeah.
So November, December, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say I had it in my head when you first typed this down,
Yeah.
but I've since forgotten that because you and I forget everything. What was mine? Oh, the theories about Elaine being with Tamlin and not being with
Oh.
Asriel
Yeah.
in the Akatar series. I would say I really want Elaine to be with Tamlin. So any theory that
Mm-hmm.
supports that, those are
Yeah.
my favorites
That's what
because
I would
Tamlin
say
needs a
too.
redemption arc and Elaine needs Tamlin and Tamlin needs a woman like Elaine to just pamper. So they are
Yes.
perfect for each other.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I would
that's
agree
my
with you on
favorite.
that one. Um.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, that's probably my favorite. My favorite too.
Okay.
Theory of 2024 is like that. Tamlin and Elaine being a thing. Um.
Mhm.
Honestly, that I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of any like fourth wing theories, but I think
I know
that
we
one's
get a lot
probably
about like her dad being a villain and
yeah.
oh, something more with the brother. You know, like
Ooh,
the brother
yeah.
potentially going bad or
Mm-hmm.
some more story. I want more story, more behind his
Yeah.
spoilers, by the way, for Akatar, Fourth Wing, like just spoilers all the time. But,
Yeah.
I want more associated with how he survived.
Yeah.
So I would say
Yeah.
for Fourth Wing, that would be my favorite is the
Yeah.
brother
Yeah. I would say so too.
and more with Adarna and the Empyrean, anything
Yeah.
to do with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Okay. What was your number goal for 2025?
So I was gonna make it simple and do 24 books, which is two per month,
That's a
basically is
good
my
goal.
goal,
Yeah.
at least. So, and then, yeah, 24 books total. And then I have a list of books I would like to read, which, by the way, fun fact, this is more than 24. But these are the books that I want to get done in 2024. So we'll see. My deep
2025, you mean?
desire is 30. Yeah, 2025. Sorry. I've been saying 2024.
No,
Y'all, I
you're
meant
good.
2025.
You're good.
Next year, basically, like
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these are the books I want to get done. So technically my hope is 30, but like my actual official one's going to be 24 just to make it easy on myself
Yeah.
because I
That's
don't
fair.
know how like I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop and my reading desire to go away, but I'm hoping that it's like it's here to stay.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
I
have a
get that.
lot like basically the entire most of these down here you can see is literally the Throne of Glass series.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I get that.
so Onyx Storm for sure. I'd like to finish Earthquaking, which is the second book to the Anathalion series by my editor. Gate to Kagoshima by my friend Poppy. I really want to read that one. And then I really want to read Carissa Broadbent's other books. So Ashes and the Star-Cursed King and then Songbird and the Heart of Stone. And then her new one that's coming out that's the vampire one. I really want to read Assistant to the Villain and From Blood and Ash. And then I really want to read Quicksilver because I've heard on Fable, I was actually talking with some people who said, or I think it was Fable, but it was like Quicksilver is going to be a Netflix show now. So
Mm-hmm.
I really want to get that book read. Um, and then The Half King by Melissa Landers
Yeah.
and Daughter of the Yellow Dragon, which is still on it's the Mongolian romance that's still on my Kindle that I've been wanting to read forever and I still haven't done it. So at some point I do want to get that done. And then if I can throw in a few Once Upon a Prince books, because my intention was to finish that series last year, but I didn't. And so I
Yeah.
want to do a few more from that series. But I've since then, I accidentally got another book
I
and by
like how you
accident, I
said
mean it was really
accidentally,
intentional.
and it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
like
this
never
happened to
mind. I just
fall in my
wanted to.
cart. Oh, I dropped it, and it's scanned in the checkout aisle.
So,
Accidentally.
a Christian author I like, a Christian author I like watching on YouTube was reading this, and it's actually her favorite book. Of the thing. And we've talked recently, like one of our videos was
Yeah.
about how people were comparing this to and saying that, oh, the Red Queen was stealing ideas from this, but like, honey, this was like recently released, whereas the Red Queen was older. So I read the Red Queen and I loved it and I think I was in high school and it
Powerless.
ended on a cliffhanger
The.
and that cliffhanger never got resolved. Like I just left myself hanging. So I want to reread it and
Mhm.
compare it to Powerless. So the
Yeah.
Red Queen and Powerless, and if I like both of these series, I want to read both.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Which and the author
Um,
from Powerless took was inspired by the is it the Red Queen? Is that
the
what
Red
that book's
Queen.
called? The Red Queen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So that is my
All right. So
all my cover right
how I normally do my Goodreads goals is that like my reading goals. I say Goodreads goals because that's where I originally started. The reading goal for the year was on Goodreads, but
right.
my goal for this year was 20, and that was because the final number that I had read last year was 20. So I ended 2023 with 20 books read. I think my original goal was like 18, and I got two past that.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever
Dang, that's
goal
good.
I end on for the year is my starting goal for the next year. So since last year I ended on 20, this year I started on 20. As of right now, it's 25. There's a good chance it might be 26 when I end it.
Okay.
I mean, I got from like, I was like up here yesterday, so I read a chunk yesterday. So there's a good chance.
That is
I did
neat.
also stay up to like 3 a.m., which was not most ideal. But if I did some more reading done tonight, I might finish it, I might not. I don't know.
Okay.
But if that happens, my ending goal will probably be 20. It's 25 right now, so that would mean that my starting goal for next year is 25. If I finish with 26, then my goal next year would be 26. At the
That's really cool,
moment,
actually.
yeah, I think that's a good. It's like I'm not
You're
making.
improving. Like,
Yeah, and that's my way of
yeah.
improving, but it's like realistic. So it's like if I'm reading that many books in a year, that means that I can do at least that every year. I can at least do that
Yeah. That
at least that.
logically, I may switch to that because this is my first year setting a goal, but like for
Yeah.
2026, that may
Well,
be a good habit to like
and I
have.
think it's where
So,
it's like I'm like because if I go to my friends lists or like on the app the original Goodreads kind of page, you can see where all the challenges that all your other friends are doing, which it doesn't show it that
hmm
anymore. You can't see that anymore, but you used to be able to see what number your friends did and like congratulate them whenever, which I kind of missed that aspect of the new Goodreads challenge thing.
yeah.
The whole new beta doesn't show you what your friends' goals are anymore. But, which I guess it's kind of a good thing because I was always like looking, they're like, oh, 50 or like 100. And granted, one of my friends on Goodreads is my old literacy professor at State Fair. So it's like she's literally a college
Of
professor
course.
in literacy. So of course her reading, like she reads things like this. So of course her reading goal is going
Yeah.
to be substantially larger than mine. But it's like,
Yeah,
that
I'm just
was,
finding myself comparing too, so I'm really
yeah.
trying not to start in
And,
that
and
because
that,
that's going to be
yeah.
a bad mindset to get
And
into.
because
Because a lot of people are like, oh, 70 books in a year, and I'm like, how
because
do you
my
do that?
thing, and because with me personally, is like competition sucks out any joy that I have in something. So
Right.
if I am assuming somebody else is turning something into a competition, or if I'm making it into a competition in my head, then I do not like, I don't have fun. I get so focused on
I
comparing
understand
and
that.
competing that I just don't even have fun. So it's like in this situation, I was doing like I started out with like 15 books for the year, or like 10 or like 12 or 15 or something like that. And then I was like, oh, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna set my goal for the same thing as last year. And I'm like, well, when I actually because I never actually met that goal because I would get close or I would read 12 out of 15 or like 10 out of 12 and I just would never finish it. And so when I actually reached my goal, the first year I reached my goal, I'm like, I'm just going to set the same thing. And so I did that for a year, the next year. And then the year after that, I'm like, well, I don't need to be just meeting that number every year. I want to try to improve a little bit. And so my compromise with myself is whatever I ended on, that would be my start of the next year's goal. And so that's what I've been doing from this point on.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
really good. I like that system.
because I've shown myself that I can actually read that number, so instead of just boxing myself into a specific amount, and eventually like you're scaffolding yourself is what you're doing. Like that's called
Yeah.
like in teaching terms that's scaffolding. It's like you're you know adding a little bit more difficulty to the task at each time, and so until eventually the child's doing really complex stuff that they originally weren't able to do because you scaffolded them into it. It's like a teaching thing, but so I'm scaffolding myself into my reading goals. So
Yeah.
I made a picture. I was bored last night, and so I got onto Canva, and I looked at collage templates, and I put the cover pages of the books that I want to at least my current physical TBR list. I did not include all of the Stuff Your Kindle books that I've gotten over the course of the year that are currently sitting in my
Yeah.
Kindle.
I have
So I
so
haven't
many
even
on my
touched my
Kindle.
Kindle. This is just like physical books
That would
on
be a
these
fun challenge
shelves.
for a month.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Kindle reads of the
Yes.
month.
Yeah.
Kindle
That would
TBR.
be a good challenge. But it's like I
That'd be a
looked
good
through
challenge.
and looked at my list, and I forgot one. But these are like, there's some of the books, there's a couple probably that I haven't read that I want to read. And I think I just realized I forgot one, but we're gonna just don't worry about that for now.
All right.
But so far, some things that I'm wanting to read. I want to read I've read the first two or three. I have read the first two or three of the Harry Potter series, and I want to finish read. I want to start from the beginning of Goblet of Fire, and then read the Half Blood Prince, and then the Deathly Hallows. I want to read the last three, the ones that I haven't read yet. Crescent City series, I want to read those. I've read The Hobbit, but I haven't actually officially read the Fellowship of the Ring, like the Lord of the Rings books, the official trilogy. I haven't actually
I want to
read
read Lord of the
those
Rings.
three, and
We should do
so
that together sometime.
I want to read
That'd be
those
fun.
three, but I also want to read the Christopher Tolkien books. There's a couple of them I haven't read, so these are these ones here because these are the main three, and then The Hobbit, and then there's like some Christopher Tolkien first and second era stuff. I haven't read The Children of Hurin, and I haven't read The Fall of Numenor, so I want to read those two at some point this year. I also have the audiobooks with that. A lot of what Tolkien's reads, I'm nervous to try to read it without following along with the audiobook, just because, again, I group myself into the struggling reader category, and I probably shouldn't do that anymore, but in my head I still do, and I struggle with really complex names. He's notorious for having really unique names. And so I get panicked and I get scared. And then but that's something. I read Divergent, but I've never actually read Insurgent or Allegiant. I know what happens at the end of the third one, and I just stopped because I'm like, well, if I know what happens to the character, what's the point in me reading it? But I actually want to read the series because I haven't actually read book 2 and 3 in that series, and I really want to.
I love that. I read the prequel called 4, which is
And that's another one that I want to
backstory
read too, that I haven't actually read. That
I
there's
put
like
them both on
several.
my list.
Let's see. A couple other things. I want to read the Songbird and the Heart of Stone, which is probably going to be part of my January TBR. Onyx Storm is coming out soon, so that's what I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead on the list, but Onyx Storm is on there. Sunrise on the Reaping is on there. Those haven't actually come out yet. Bloodguard is
you know
one.
what? I need to read that too. Add that to mine. I want to read Hey Mitch's games too.
Yeah. It's supposed to there's like double the tributes, so I have a feeling it's going to be very gory and intense.
I'm excited, dude. I want to read that.
Yeah.
Like,
it makes me wonder
it
makes me wonder like how much is she going to include and still be able to call it a young adult read?
I'm wondering if it's gonna be young adult or not. So that's definitely. But yeah.
Bloodguard.
We're gonna branch them into stuff coming out next year too, which is we'll get to that in a minute too. But that's.
Bloodguard is one of them. It's not super high on my TBR at the moment, just because I'm not in that kind of mood. I'm thinking if I read some others that are in a similar genre or like ancient times feely things, that I might get into that one a little bit more.
Actually, Hey Mitch's games may. You may get in a mood for Bloodguard. Yeah, depending on what she does with it. The whole arena fighting thing, if you read Hunger Games, you'll probably want to read Bloodguard, but like more mature. So
yeah, I get that. The Half King, which is one of them that we picked up at Target, that I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about that book, but it was one of them we picked up.
It sounded good. So
yeah, my Christmas reads, which the Christmas books that I got, which was like the Long Live Evil and the Ledge, the sheet that you got me. When the Moon Hatched. That I've had that one. That one's been tentatively, it's over here now, but it was been tentatively on my list of books this year throughout the year, and I just have not been in the mood to read it. Six of Crows is another one that's been out for quite a long time now. I can't remember when it was released, but
I don't know, but it's been
we
a
got
while.
that one
It's
at
been a
like
while.
a discount bookstore
Right.
in Branson, and it was we got stuff for
Yeah.
like really cheap, and that was one of them that we picked up. That I actually want to like read at some point
Yeah.
when I get into the mood for it. Blood of Hercules is one that I've picked up recently. That again, I bought it recently, so I guess it's on my TBR. I haven't actually read Star Wars Brotherhood, and you've bragged and bragged about how you really like it, and so I do want to read that one. That one, yeah, it's over, it's right there. And then I also want to read the Mace Windu. It's called The Glass Abyss. I want to read that one
Yeah.
too. So, and then I forgot. There's a book that I forgot to add. It's called A Tea Steeped in Poison. I've had one on my
Okay.
bookshelf for quite a while. It's one of the older ones that I've had for a while that I just haven't read. Caravel, I think, is on there, if I'm saying that right. I
Mhm.
forgot to put that one on there
Yeah.
too. There's several. There's several on my that
There's
have been sitting on
several.
my bookshelf that I just haven't read and just don't want to
Same.
read and I haven't touched. So this is more of like not really. I labeled it my master list, but it's not really a master list. It's more of a
List of titles you'd like to read at some
yeah
point at
anticipated.
some time.
Yeah, like the ones that I
Yeah,
my
anticipated
TBR
reads.
list slash I'm wanting to get through this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, well I actually really quickly wanted to throw in the two reading challenges that I'm going to do
yeah,
besides the TBR challenges that we always do.
yeah.
Um, there's this author, not author, there's this book reader that I've recently discovered. I don't remember her name or her channel, so I'm sorry about that. But I may put it in the comments
Yeah.
below if I can find it. Um, but she's doing a read in the new year challenge, and it's January 12th through the 18th, and the prompts are not set in your country, from your physical TBR, on a topic that interests you, and also a free book that you got for free. So
Oh.
mine book that I was going to do, you can do multiple books to fulfill like one per prompt, or you can do like one book if it fulfills all the prompts, like
Is
whatever you want to
it
do.
is it
So
a girl
mine,
called Lovely Day with Holly? Is that her name?
no, I
No.
think it's Oceana
Oh.
something.
Okay.
Oceana must read or something to that effect. When
Okay.
you type in her name Oceana, you'll should find her for anybody who's interested. And she's a Christian like book reader. She seems Christian. She reads Christian fiction, so it's all like really clean, really good stuff. But mine that I was thinking is
Gotta read them
Sisters of the
all.
Villain because I did get it for Christmas, so it is free. It is a villain, which is a topic that interests me, and then it's from my physical TBR, and it's not set in my country. But I was thinking about trying to also fulfill like Earthquaking, which is H.A. Pruitt's Anathalion series. So and doing some prompts with that because it's coming out. Her book is coming out January 14th, and this would cover that window.
Sweet.
So we'll see. And then of course I already mentioned it, but I'm doing PewDiePie's challenge or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So like January was Tao Te Ching, February is In the Buddha's Words, March is Free, April is Discourses and Selected Writing by Epictetus, and then May is The Republic by Plato. June is free. July is Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. August is The Iliad by Homer, so I'm excited for that one. September's free. October is Thus Spoke Zatharsa by Friedrich Nietzsche. And then November is Siddhartha by Herman Hesse, and then December is free. So we will see. I've already done
Ooh.
the first one, so I'm gonna try to stay ahead.
Yeah.
So that's the challenges that I'm doing, along with any others that you and I want to try to do together. I'm thinking about trying to do a month where I don't buy any books, and then a only read from my Kindle for the like my Kindle TBR challenge as well.
Yeah.
So I went through for us and wrote down all the books coming out that look good. And if they have a double star, it's I'm most anticipated. A single star is just anticipated, and then a little squirrely
Yeah.
looks good. So Onyx Storm obviously is coming out January 21st. So I'm excited about that. Um, there's one called A Curse Carved in Bone. It's Saga of the Unfated, and I need to read book one, but it looked really good. Um, and then Four Faded Realms is the sequel to this book that I've got called The first book is Five Broken Blades or something like that,
Okay.
and it looks really good. And I've been meaning to read book one, and I was like, oh my gosh, book two is already out, and I haven't even read book one yet. Firebird. I look, the cover on Firebird, you should look it up. It is absolutely gorgeous, and the blurb sounds phenomenal. So I did a star by that one because that's going to be a new thing. So Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, that's Carissa Broadbent's new one that takes place between Ashes and the
Is it
Starkers
by
King and then her new
Kara?
one.
Is it by Kara Clare?
Firebird is by Juliet Cross,
Oh, I was gonna say. I
and
was
it's
like,
coming
that's
out
a.
April 8th.
Oh. Okay. I was gonna say the one
Okay.
that I found was book 6 in a series, so it's probably.
Nope. Firebird, I think this is her debut, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
the first. I don't
Sweet.
know if it's in a series or not.
That'll be
So,
awesome.
Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, Carissa Broadbent. I know you wanted to read that one too,
Mm-hmm.
because that Ashes follows Ashes and the Starkers King. Sunrise on the Reaping. We just talked about that. That's Hey Mitch's Games by Susan Collins. That's coming out March 18th. The Slaying the Vampire Conqueror is coming out March 25th. So those are both
Mm-hmm.
March releases. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Say You Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. She's a like romance contemporary romance one,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard really good things about her other one.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it either, so you'll just have to look up
Okay.
Abby Jimenez for anybody interested.
Yeah.
But the Say You'll Remember Me, I've been meaning to read her other one, so that's why she has a new one that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken, June 3rd, that one looked pretty good. Ward D, all right, guys. Frida McFadden is my favorite psychological thriller author, and I read her book called The Inmate. And I was looking for her, and she wasn't in any stores at all. And then all of a sudden now she's like everywhere. So I had to buy her book like on Kindle, but now she's everywhere. She's coming out with a new one called Ward D, and it's like like
Mm.
this woman works in a psych ward.
Oh,
And
cool.
I'm like, dude, it looks good. So that's March 4th. So that's another March read. So this one I thought you would like. It's called Mother of Rome, by
Okay.
I can't read my own handwriting. Lauren J.A. Bear.
Okay.
It's January 7th, and it's like ancient Rome kind of vibes.
Oh.
The Underworld Tapes by Amanda Dewitt looks good. Water Moon by Samantha Soto looks really good and sounds really good. And then Gate to Kagoshima by Poppy Karaoke is coming out in January. I don't know the exact date, but I've already pre-ordered the physical book and the audiobook because me and her used to talk about like Immortal and her Gate to Kagoshima. So that one's like a time traveling romance like Outlander, but she goes back to samurai times.
Oh,
So I'm
cool.
like, I'm here for it. I am here for it. So I can't wait for that one.
Yeah.
So those are the books that are coming out
Okay.
in 2025.
You mentioned so a really side note because my brain's jumping, but I've been listening to this one guy that talk about Skyrim a lot, and
Yeah.
he described the Red Guards as like based on the samurai, but pirates. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of them from that perspective. Because they're like fighting like
I
with
didn't either
honor
because
based thing.
to me the Red Guards have always been Arabic
No.
inspired.
But he made a comment that he felt like it was like I don't know. I'll have to find the video and send it to you. But I'm like it's because
Yeah, that's
he was
interesting.
ranking all the races in the different
Hmm.
races in Skyrim, which is still story based. So in my head, it could count
Yeah,
in this discussion. Anyway,
it
sorry,
can.
I got sidetracked.
Okay.
um,
Um,
yeah.
so those are the ones coming out that I was really interested in, and some of those kind of
Mm-hmm.
crossed over with ones you were interested in. But I got two reading journals. I'm going to keep up with them this year. And it's my first time. I'm excited to do a reading journal, and I would have done my own, but I'm not creative like everybody else who can just draw a bookshelf and do their own things. But I wanted to go over some of the fun features that, like, really quickly. They both have these where it's like you write down the title and you color in the star
Oh, okay.
rating, and then
Yeah.
like when you read it and the page count and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it has like a daily reader tracker.
Oh,
So like
cool.
you just mark the day
Yeah.
for the whole year. And then this one specifically has a reading log for every month. So like
Huh.
January, I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm on the right day, but you
That's
just point
cool.
like the book titles you read that month, which would be fun because we do a monthly TBR. And
Yeah.
then the reading challenge, and you color in a book every time you read one.
Oh, cool.
And then your wish list. This one has a wish list.
Yeah.
And then it's got specific review pages where you write down all the
Oh,
information
okay.
and then give your thoughts and your notes and stuff.
Cool.
And then it's got tons of review pages. So this one, was really interesting. It also has an index as well, just slightly structured different. It's got its own reading tracker as well. Um, and then favorite books, and then favorite author
Oh, okay.
page. Like still to read, and then what I have read. So like
Okay.
for instance, Sarah J. Maas, I could write down the ones of her books that I have read and then the ones that I haven't read yet, because
Oh.
she's one of my favorite authors. Books I've read, so it's got the same thing, the title and then the star rating and all the stuff. And it's got several pages for that, but then it's got the bookshelf as well. But the one I wanted for this one was it has different challenges. So the 10 book challenge, basically where you read 10 books. And then it goes up from there, 25 book challenge, which you completed this year. So good for you. The 50 book challenge, and then a 100 book challenge, which was insane to me.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Probably not going to do that one for quite a while. But then it's got 52 books in 52 weeks. So I would have to read comic books or something short because there's no way I
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah.
So, but I did like the idea. And then again, it has a review page, but I like the structure of this page a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to basically kind of log these and just kind of keep track of things. Even though I use Fable as well, like it's the idea of actually getting to color stuff in and physically write stuff
Yeah.
is
I
kind of
get that.
fun sounding to me. So
Cool.
now I need a drink because that was a lot of talking.
Yeah, honestly, the two main one, like the main books that I am looking forward to reading, the new releases are like the two, like Onyx Storm and Sunrise on the Reaping. Those two are like the main new releases that I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to. I'm looking forward to like like finishing series, like finishing the Harry Potter series. Even though I have a good idea, there's made certain plot twists and things that I have a good. I'm pretty like I essentially know what happens for a decent portion of like the surprises, but I've never actually completely read all of them, and so I want to read them, and I'm excited to read them. And then
Yeah.
I'm excited to start Crescent City at some point, but not so excited that
Yeah.
I just want to jump headfirst into it because that's the only three books that I have left of Sarah, and I don't want to rush those. And I don't want to
I can
just rush
understand
through
that.
her because then I'm like, I won't have any more of her stuff to read. But I guess I could reread ACOTAR because that's what I've been wanting to do here for a while. They said that this
Yeah.
ACOTAR 6 is either a late 2025 or early 2026 release date. They haven't actually officially revealed a release date yet. So if it's 2025, that would be on my anticipated reads. If not,
Yes.
it
I
would be
didn't know
definitely
that.
be on there for next year. I looked that up before we started, before I got on the call with you, because I'm like, I don't know when this is supposed to
Nice.
come out. The
Yeah.
AI on Google said that it's either late 2025 or early 2026, and it cited different
That's,
websites that listed that. So I'm like, okay,
yeah.
so we'll go, we'll go with it.
If it's 2025, I would say that would be my most anticipated read
Yeah,
beyond Onyx Storm. I would say it and Onyx Storm would be my most anticipated, and then I'm still
yeah,
looking forward to the Hey Mitch's Game
yeah,
book. I can never remember the title of it. I get it mixed up
yeah.
with the third one in the
Well, it's just
Nax
like
Crowns of Naxia
based
series.
on what we're given about Hamish's games from the original trilogy, the original three. It sounds so brutal because like after he wins, like it even talks about how like his family was all everybody he loved was killed. It was just him. He became a drunkard, drunken, shell of a guy.
Yeah, it's
And
like
it's
what the
like
heck
what
happened to
happens to
make him
that
that way?
man that causes him to get that way? It's like if you love angst, you're gonna get a crap ton of angst in Sunrise on the Reaping. Like there's gonna
I'm
be
really
so
getting
much
I'm getting more
angst.
intrigued.
I
Yeah.
know. And that's where I'm like, I don't see how this book could be our
Wild.
traditional idea of YA. And as you were talking about how you didn't know which of your books were considered YA, and I think it's like the span of what's considered YA is getting bigger and bigger. And it's like if I were to
Yeah.
and even like when we were younger, Hunger Games was one of those like risque books to not really risque as in like explicit, but it was like you're letting your kid read about other kids killing each other. Wow, it was like kind of like almost like a taboo type thing,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
even now it's like Hunger Games does seem kind of intense, but it's almost like mild compared
Tame
to some of the
compared
other
to
things
some
that
of
we
the
see.
stuff.
And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and random rant about that. The whole title of YA, literally the definition means
yeah.
young adult. And for
I
me,
think
that
high
branches
school.
into the 20s, but that
Yeah.
branches into like the 20s because like I would
Mm-hmm.
consider like a
Yeah, me
21-year
too.
old a young adult
Yeah,
still.
I would too.
But the rule is it has to be characters that are 18 or younger, or it's
Oh,
not
that's
considered
annoying.
YA. I've had publishers reject it me, like and other people that I've talked to in my circles because it's not YA. You have to have characters that are 18 or
Yeah,
younger.
yeah.
And I feel like it, like you said, it's kind of expanding. So to me, it's going back to the original way
Mm-hmm.
how it's supposed to be. Because a young adult is like 25 and younger, in my opinion. Like
Yeah,
24 or 25, you're kind of like an adult now.
yeah,
But like 23, 22, 21,
yeah,
you're a young adult still. And so for
yeah.
me, YA
It's like on the
became this like,
higher
oh,
end of
it's
young
really about
adult for sure.
teenagers. But it's like, to
Yeah,
me, that's actually like a teenager read. So it's
yeah.
like middle school or I don't know, high
Well,
school
middle
reads,
school
or
is like
I don't
I
know what
think
the
middle school is like
middle
it
grade.
has its own
Yeah.
grouping now.
It's
I
called
think.
middle grade, I think, or
Yeah,
something like
middle
that.
grade. Yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
I
But
definitely see I see like a large chunk of YA takes like a large chunk of the readers I think, or at least high school range. But it's like now I'm seeing a lot of like adults reading YA too. So it's like it's really interesting how that's
yeah, it's
changed.
like not necessarily reflecting the characters, but the audience who reads it, I guess,
Yeah,
would be a good way to define that.
that makes
So,
sense.
but yeah, I think that's everything though.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like,
Wrap
I
it
think
up
we've covered pretty much
2024.
everything.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys have read, how your December TBR went, and then like your reads for the year and like your goals for next year and stuff like that. I'm curious to see what all you guys did that are watching
Yeah.
this and stuff. So that's going to be exciting. And are you looking forward to anything in particular, wanting to read it next year? Not necessarily if it's coming out, but just in general, what you want to read next year.
Yeah.
So,
Be good. All right. We shall see y'all later.
yep. See you guys next year,
Bye.
technically.
Technically next year.
Bye.
Bye.